In his 2011 memoir, Townie, local author Andre Dubus III wrote that if he hadn't started writing, he might have ended up in prison. Now he's tackling the fictional story of a very real struggle, what happens when you get out of prison and have to confront the life you left behind. For Danny Ahearn in Dubus's latest novel, it's called Gone So Long, that's his daughter Susan, who hasn't seen him since he murdered his wife, her mother, 40 years ago. And although Danny has tried to live a good life since, is there anything he or anyone could do to earn redemption after such a crime? Andre Dubus also is a professor at UMass Lowell. He joins me now ahead of an appearance with Oprah this coming Thursday at the Tsongas Center in Lowell. Andre, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for being here.
Great to see you too, Jim. Thanks for having
me. I read
me.
that the plot came from a real-life meeting. You had a chance meeting with somebody who did 15 years in jail. Yes? What's that?
In my travels, I met a man who'd done 15 years at Walpole, and I had lunch with him as we were leaving the lunch. I asked him why he did time. And
you're never supposed to do that.
I know. That's why I didn't. But I bought the lunch. I said, well, I can ask you. And then he said, well, I killed my wife. And it took my breath away because, you know, like millions of people, I detest male violence against women. And I took a breath, and I just wanted to get out of that restaurant. And I said, well, do you have kids? He said, yeah, but they don't want to see me. And, Jim, I couldn't get that out of my head. Over the years, I've learned if there's nothing that's helpful to a writer, it's curiosity. And I found that you can't choose what you're curious about. And I couldn't get that out of my head.
And he became Danny Ahearn.
He became Danny Ahearn.
You know, one of the things that I was most amazed by, and I'm sure I'm not alone, is how much empathy I felt for this killer as I'm reading this book. Why did I? I didn't want to.
I didn't want to either. I didn't want to either, except I'm lying when I say that. The truth is, and it's bumper sticker Christianity, but I've learned over the years to hate the sin and not the sinner. And I think as soon as we demonize anyone else, we've cut ourselves off from everybody, and that's how wars start. So I had to find a way to not judge him as a human being, but to judge what he did. Look, I know that he hates more than I did what he did. And so that was my fuel then.
You know, when you brought that into the real world for a second there, Andre, I'm saying to myself, is I can feel empathy for Danny Ahearn, who killed his wife and the mother of his then, I think, 3-year-old she was
daughter,
at the time. But we live in a larger society where I can't feel empathy for someone who has a different political point of view. One would argue something a little less serious than the murder of a wife and a mother. Why that kind of weird disconnect?
I'm glad you asked me. I think my favorite word in the English language is compassion, which, as you probably know, means to suffer with. I have a real hard time with the man in the White House on every level possible, but I actually don't demonize the people who voted for him. There was real pain and other problems that got them to vote for him. Not all of them. He's brought out some really bad qualities in people, but I think it's essential that, look, I've been writing fiction all my adult life, and if I've learned anything, and this is going to sound maybe a little voodoo weird, but the deeper I dive into my own imagination, and we all get one, into the dream world, I find that there is no other. There is no other. I am you, you are me, I am her, I am him. We are one, and you know, I haven't met a bad baby yet, man. We come into the world just looking for love and respect and some food and a blankie, and then we screw it up.
I've only known you 4 minutes. I already know you're a better man than I am. Let's put it that way. You know,
I'm a work in progress.
I read, I think in a Globe thing last year when you were doing some book thing, the Globe book thing, speaking of Donald Trump, that you talked about art and literature being, I think you called it an act of resistance. I think that was the term. What do you mean by that?
Well, I love this line from Tolstoy, the great Russian novelist. He said, art is transferring feeling from one heart to another. I love that, because the only thing that's going to make anyone feel anything is some kind of truth illuminated. And it seems to me that if we read books with an open heart and mind, if we have conversations with other people with an open heart and mind, you can have strong convictions, you can fight about them, but we can't be killing each other.
Are you this healthy?
No, I have a short fuse.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Don't cut me off in traffic.
I'm very glad.
Don't cut me off in traffic, especially with my kids in the car.
So can we get back to the book for a couple of seconds? I know your father, who most people know and probably read, didn't kill kill anybody in your family, but he did abandon your family. So there is a piece of an autobiography in this. Is there? Or
Well,
do you not like that?
I resist the thought that he my father did not abandon us in the sense of abandonment, I don't think. He was a 70s divorce. He would pick us up for a couple hours on Sunday and drop us off. He paid his child support. He was not a deadbeat dad. But
did you feel that way even before you sort of had a thing with him later in his life?
I did not. Here's the thing. Writing my memoir, Townie, my father's remembered daily absence in our lives became a huge presence in the book. And it was as a grown man and as a father myself that I really came to realize that he wasn't there. But I don't to this day consider him to have abandoned us. I do think he drove away to be a writer and not be a father and a husband. And he wrote some beautiful, beautiful work, and he was a beautiful artist. But he could have done better, but I don't think it was abandonment.
So am I wrong to say there's some of you, and well, I guess there's always some of an author.
It's always a mystery, right? I mean, part of me resists any sort of look at a writer or anyone in the arts' personal life to come up with the source of their art. I will say that I'm all through Gone So Long, but, you know, there's an 82-year-old woman in there, the mother-in-law of Danny Ahearn. I'm in there, too. I got some Lois in me.
Where's Susan, too?
I've
the
got
kid,
some
right?
Susan in me, the 43-year-old woman who's an aspiring writer. And there's Danny in me, too, although I've never harmed a woman physically. And so it's scary to write fiction.
Is it easier, though, to write, you said scary, to write fiction where it's like one layer removed? I mean, that's my term. You may not like that either.
You mean as a writer, one layer removed?
Yeah. When I'm reading Townie, I'm like, well, it was unbelievably great, and I really connected to it for a number of personal reasons.
A lot of us grow up. Yeah.
I couldn't believe that you were willing to be that open about yourself and your family, and I mean, isn't that really hard?
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I just tend to be an open book kind of guy. Like, I'm the kind of guy at the party says, "Hey, Jim, how much do you make? You know how much I make? Hey, you go to the bathroom more often tonight since you hit 50?" I mean, I have weird boundaries.
The answer is yes, by the way.
Me
that
too.
one I can answer,
too.
yeah.
It's, I tend to be an open book kind of guy, and I get great joy out of engaging with other people. And, you know, one of my favorite lines is from a wonderful therapist named Virginia Satir. She defines intimacy this way. Intimacy is my own ability to share with you my truth and your ability to reciprocate. And man, right? But that's hard. It's one of the hardest things to do. But I think that's the job of the artist and the writer and the reader and people.
This book is fabulous. I love this book. So you want to be honest before you go. You have to choose one. Either Me Tonight or Oprah at UMass Lowell. Who do you choose?
I'm going with Oprah, man. Sorry.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Andre.
Thank you,
I'm a real
John.
admirer of
Thank
your
you.
work. Thanks so much.
Appreciate
The book, again, is Gone So Long. It's terrific. You can catch Andre this Thursday at 7 o'clock in conversation with that woman, Oprah Winfrey, at UMass Lowell's Chancellor's Speaker Series at the Tsongas Center. For more information, visit tsongascenter.com.